You debated Ben Shapiro yesterday. Right. How did that go? I haven't even seen you.
It went well. I think it will probably be out around the time of this interview, maybe slightly before, slightly afterwards. It was a good conversation. We were discussing whether or not religion is good for society. And
tough stance for young Benjamin to take at the moment.
I suppose so. I mean, it was a very much sort of don't mention the war type scenario. I mean, the producers had said, look, we want this to be an evergreen conversation. We want this to be something that people can listen to at any point. Mm-hmm. And also, Ben had just the night before been to the Oxford Union, and I haven't seen that yet either. But it sounds
I saw that
like
he had at it with a bunch of people on the other side of the fence, so to speak.
He didn't have a very good time. He said to me that it was the most tense thing that he's ever done. Wow. The most tense thing he's ever been a part of.
Well, I saw something that was kind of interesting was the video was only shot on what appeared to be iPhone.
Yes.
So there was no... Maybe they just wanted to get it up early as opposed to waiting for the Oxford Union's official video to come through.
Seems to be the case. They do seem to be planning to upload it. In fact, when I was recording with Ben, I think his team were in the green room sort of furiously subtitling to try and get it out, potentially before the Oxford Union.
Right, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. But I mean, it sounded like a hell of an evening. And so the next day, he was saying that it sort of felt like a nice break from that.
What, to sit opposite you?
Well,
that you are the comfortable leather pair of shoes that he can put on.
I think Ben relaxes in argumentation. I think he genuinely enjoys it. I think there's no contradiction to say that he was having some time off by sitting there and having a spat. But he was having a break from the politics.
Right.
In other words, he was able to just argue about something a bit more perennial and a little less fiery, I suppose.
What have you learned? So you are... I've been a massive fan of you since before you came on the podcast, and since then we've become friends, and you've come out to see me in Austin. We've spent a ton of time together. You're probably my favorite person to watch debate people, because it's kind of a little bit like watching Batman versus Spider-Man or something, because I know you well, and we've argued a lot, but I know maybe Ben Shapiro, but I don't know what will happen when these two people come together. You were president of Sock.
The Socratic Society, yes.
Yeah, you were part of Debate Sock and all of this other stuff at Oxford. Given that you've got a relatively illustrious heritage of both formal and informal debates, what is your assessment of Ben Shapiro's debating style, his ethical consistency, his ability to deploy logic, etc., now that you've gone mano a mano in the ring?
Well, he has obviously an incredibly high verbal IQ. He can construct a sentence out of nowhere and do it very quickly. And he's also very difficult to interrupt. Not that I particularly wanted to. I mean, he would throw sort of maybe 2 or 3 points out at once, and you want to butt in and do them one by one. You don't want to be rude, of course, so I let him finish. But it was amazing how they just glued together into one wall of text. You know, I've seen comments on some of the videos that I was watching of him in preparation to talk to him, where people were not being funny in saying that they play the video on 0.75 speed because it makes him sound normal. There was sort of an episode with Constantine and Francis, trigonometry, and he's talking about religion and its relation to the fentanyl crisis, and people were saying that and it was very fast, and if you play it on 0.75, you forget that you've done that, and you're just hearing somebody talk at a normal volume, at a normal speed, and then Constantine comes in sounding like a blue whale or something out of nowhere. So he's very quick.
Yeah.
But also, I thought, very charitable. This is the thing. I think people get Ben Shapiro wrong. I went to his Cambridge Union event after this discussion / debate, because it was in Cambridge. That's why we were out there, and so I went to this event and I was talking to a lot of the students afterwards. And you hear a lot of people saying about Ben Shapiro that he's a bit of a grifter, or oh, well, I'm not really a fan. Or you have the sort of secret fans who are sat in the chamber going like, well, you know, it's. I think it's important. You know, if you're going to disagree with someone, you sort of have to hear the thing that you're going to disagree with in the flesh. And so you can say that you like Ben Shapiro. It's okay, you know. But people see this side of him, of the sort of slightly sneering, smarmy, owning the college student kind of thing. But I think in many ways he matches the energy that he's given. And so taking him seriously and listening to what he's saying and being willing to concede a point to him, he will do the same thing. And I think that happened in this conversation. You know, it's steadfast. We're saying what we think to each other. At one point, we both accuse each other simultaneously of being delusional, but in such a manner that if you say something, you get a sort of like Yeah, no, that's a fair point, actually. Maybe we should put it this way instead. Or yeah, actually, I see what you're saying. No, you're right. I should have said this instead. That kind of attitude, which is the kind of thing that people think Ben Shapiro is incapable of for some reason.
Humility.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's a hidden humility because it comes out not in the attitude, not in a sort of, he's not going to like give way to you emotionally. He's not going to be like, oh, you're right. It would just be if you pay attention to the way he's constructing an argument and changing it subtly based on your responses, you know that he really is listening and really is trying to engage with what you're actually saying. And that's a kind of humility that I don't think can really be faked.
Yeah, I am friends with a bunch of guys that have worked with him over the years, and I know for a fine fact that part of his debate prep involves a number of break glass in case of mass offense, sort of escape hatches, and that there's layers of how deep and how aggressive he can go. So I would love to know, actually, I might email him and find out what he's got on you, just in case I ever need to actually pull that pin.
He said to me when he walked in, I saw the Peter Hitchens thing, as everybody's been saying to me recently. So he'd at least seen that, so he knows how I behave. And he knows, in other words, that if he did start sort of screaming at me, that I would probably just sit there and take it.
Right, okay. Like the philosophical cuck that you are.
Quite right.
Yeah, you're kind of
That's another quote for the Twitter bio, I think.
Yeah, have you updated it to I absolutely do not, I've decided I do not like you, Peter Hitchens?
It's in there somewhere. I think it's I actively dislike you is the quote that's now on my bio. I'm constantly shifting it around.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll ever get rid of unusually penetrating.
What was it that you were doing? What was it that you did for a while? Making theists question their beliefs and lesbians question their sexuality. Since
I don't know what you're talking about.
I remember that in your bio.
I have no idea what you're talking about. To watch the full conversation, click the link that's on your screen. Subscribe to my main channel or this clip's channel by clicking just below it. If you want to support my channel and get early access to videos, as well as getting them ad-free, then visit patreon.com/AlexOC. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.